Hi, this is Alan Ellis with DeGuire Paperless Property Management Company in Fort Worth, serving the North Texas area. Today is part 2 in a series of what do I need to know about security deposits in Fort Worth. Today's part 2 is from the landlord's perspective. What does the landlord need to know and what does the landlord need to do? First, they need to know the Texas property codes and the rules for returning the security deposit. Landlords really only want 2 things at the end of a lease agreement. They would like to have the tenant fulfill their lease obligation, and they'd like the property returned in the condition it was minus normal wear and tear that it was when the tenant moved in. Yet this continues to be the #1 reason for disputes and civil suits of complaints from tenants that they did not receive their security deposit back. One of the things that we could do, and when we look at these 2 areas, we want to make sure that we review all the sections of the lease agreement with the prospective tenant. And we want to make sure especially they understand the security deposit section. We want them to understand what can be deducted at the end of the lease and what's above and beyond normal wear and tear. We also want them to know that they cannot apply their last month's rent to the security deposit. Different laws and rules regulate rent versus security deposit. And then we also want to let them know that in most leases in Texas, they're required to give a 30-day notice that they're vacating the premise to the landlord. If they do not provide, and it's in the lease agreement, a 30-day notice, then the landlord is not obligated to refund the security deposit or a portion of it. When we look at how are we going to protect our property? One of the best things, of course, and we've talked a lot in different blogs, is the landlord should take pictures and videos of the property prior to the tenant moving in. You know, if pictures are worth 1,000 words, you know, what's a video worth? Especially if you end up in a civil court, it's great evidence to show how that property looked prior to the tenant moving in. Also, it's a great idea when you get a 30-day notice, when you get that notice, send a move-out letter to the tenant. List, things that could possibly be disputed at the end of the lease. Let's make the tenant aware of, what the expectations are and what we expect the property to look like when they move out. Let's be specific. Let's talk about cleaning issues, the floors, the appliances, the bathrooms. Let's detail out exactly what we expect from the tenant on the move out. Let's explain to them the move out inspection procedures. Let's schedule a time that we can walk the property with the tenant, that we can point out some things that maybe they can repair rather inexpensively versus us having to have it done and deduct it from the security deposit. So let's just kind of list the things above beyond normal wear and tear. What's the difference between a worn carpet and a carpet that's got a large stain or hole in it? That's what we need to explain prior to just the deduction and having it repaired. Then let's remind the tenant that they need to return the keys or any electronic access device to the landlord, and they have to provide us with a forwarding address. The landlord then has 30 days to return the security deposit, along with an itemized list of any deductions they made for repairs above and beyond normal wear and tear. This has been Alan Ellis with DeGuire Paperless Property Management Company, serving the North Texas area. Any questions on today's blog, please feel free to give us a call. Have a great day.